All right. Well, before we jump into the mantra, I want to set the stage a little bit. I want to set the stage with how our minds as humans tend to work. So often throughout our day, we have so many decisions that we make. We have big decisions, we have small decisions, we have decisions that we make without even realizing we're making decisions. But what happens when we have a decision to make and there might be a couple of different options, a few different options even, and we're unsure of which to choose. There are situations where we have options and we don't like any of them. I'm sure you've experienced this before also. You've got to make a choice, but you're like, I don't like any of the options. That makes it a challenge as well. And then there are just decisions that we have to make, and we put so much pressure on ourselves to make the right one. Raise your hand if this is you. If you're driving, maybe not. Other than that, raise your hand if you ever put so much pressure on yourself to make the right choice. I have to make sure I make the right decision here. When you find yourself in this situation, especially when you're putting this kind of pressure on yourself, that is when you're going to haul this mantra out. Here it is. What if I could have both? What if I could have both? What if I could have a little bit of this option and a little bit of that option? What if it didn't have to be all one thing? What if it could be a little bit of both? Well, hey there, I am Jennifer Roskamp, a certified life coach and homeschool mom of 9 who is passionate about helping women just like you embrace the here and now while also being focused on creating the life you actually want. In reality, it's not about thinking life will get so much better or so much easier when you fill in the blank. Let's work on creating a life you love now. So let's dive in and get started on redefining Supermom to be someone who is present, intentional, and content rather than perfect in our homes, in our lives, and in our own skin. Let's get started. This is the Intentional Mom Podcast. Well, hey there. Before I jump into the mantra that we have this week, I'm going to give you a little bit of context. So, a little bit of context about how the human brain works. So, in my studies as a life coach, and it's an ongoing study, I love studying about how the brain works and how we respond or don't respond based on how the mind works. And so, one of the things that I know is that as humans, we tend to think that it's all one thing or all another. We are very black and white thinkers. When we diagnose a situation, a circumstance, something we're dealing with, we tend to look at it predominantly as all good or all bad. We tend to think that if something if we diagnose a situation, a circumstance, a reality, something we're living through, something we're having to deal with, and we look at that and we diagnose it as this is bad, this is hard, this is challenging, this is unfair, right? We're on the negative side of the spectrum there. That is going to be a situation in which this mantra is going to be one that if you haul it out, it will help you. So here's the mantra. What if it could be both? What if it could be both? Whatever the situation, whatever the circumstance, whatever the challenge, whatever the crappy hand is that you've been dealt, what if it could be both negative and positive? I like to encourage people that in any situation, there is always two sides of the coin, and they aren't both all bad. Now, there are some really, really heart-wrenching, rip your guts out challenges that we are given. There are times where we are given the unthinkable when it comes to situations that we find ourselves in, and we have to walk through. And so I don't mean to minimize those times, because they do exist. They are heart-wrenchingly difficult. But what if you could have both the heart-wrenchingly difficult and peace, calm. What if I could have both? What if both could coexist? See, you don't have to believe that it's not a big deal in order for it to be a big deal. Essentially, you can say, you know what, this is a big deal. This is a really horrible thing. But I can also manage it. But I am going to be okay. You can have both sides of that coin. What if I could have both? These two things can coexist. But again, a lot of times our brains try to tell us that they can't. What if I could have both? What if I could have both sides of this coin? I could allow the fact that this is hard and this is making me sad and this is making me frustrated and this is making me anxious. I can have that side. I don't need to ignore that side. I can acknowledge that side. But I can also say, but I am strong, but I am capable, but I am going to be okay. I don't have all the answers. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I do know that I am going to be okay. I do know that I am going to manage this. And here's the thing. You've got a 100% success rate of getting up every day to face this challenge, this circumstance, this situation. You've got that 100% success rate already. So you are living proof that you have that other side of the coin. Because even in the midst of the difficult, thinkable situations that you might find yourself in sometimes, you are getting up every day and you are living your life alongside that unthinkable situation. What if I can have both? What if I can have both the hard and the good? What if I can have both the challenge and the growth? What if I could have both the pain and the comfort? The comfort that I am going to be okay. The comfort that someday it might not be so hard. You can have both. When you find yourself struggling with hard, raw, difficult emotions, this is going to be a mantra that you could haul out and gain some insight from. This is going to be one you want to write down so that you can find it somewhere when you need it. It can help in the hard situations and it can also help in the not such a big deal situations. What if I can have both? Life typically isn't going to give us all or nothing situations. Life isn't black and white, but we tend to think things are all or nothing. We tend to look and think in black and white. And this mantra really speaks to the idea that it doesn't have to be that way, but we have to choose to see it. We have to choose to see it the other way. We have to choose to not see that it's black and white. We have to choose to see that it's not all or nothing. And this mantra will help you do it. That's what I had for you today. Haul this mantra out when you need it, write it down so you can find it. In the next episode, we've got a guest speaker episode, and I will be so excited for you to hear from this guest because we are going to be talking about managing ADD or ADHD. If you struggle with that in your own life, or if you live with people who have ADD or ADHD, whether diagnosed or undiagnosed, or really any other neurodivergent situations. This is going to be an episode you want to make sure that you not only are here to listen to, but if you know anybody who also or has family situations with this same kind of dynamic, make sure you share this episode with them. So we'll talk about that on the next episode of the Intentional Mom Podcast. We'll talk then.